A second stimulus check is going to be coming to you, but how do you ensure you get it? What do you have to do? And when will you be receiving it? Hey everybody, this is LALATE with a second stimulus check and stimulus package updates for today. This video is about the check itself with great news and shocking news released minutes ago. So let's get right to it. First, how much is the check? When will it be coming? And why is it needed more than ever before? Because of major details announced minutes ago. First, the certain things we absolutely know and are now confirmed. We first know when the check is going to be approved. The check will be approved on or around, as a fly jumps right on my face, on or around August 7th. We know that because members of Congress have said that before they went on their umpteenth vacation. They said that that is the final day that they can approve a second stimulus check, and that will be the day that it will be approved. Members of Congress are on vacation. They come back in late July. They only have a few days to get a second stimulus check approved. And that last day is August 7th or August 8th. So this is great news. We know when the check is going to get approved. Second, we know who is going to get the check. We know now that anyone who's on SSDI, SSI, Social Security, Railroad benefits, or Veterans benefits will get the second stimulus check based upon the statements of all three groups involved. The White House, the Democrats, and the Republicans have now all said that all those groups will get a second stimulus check. Why do we know that? Because the Democrats proposed a second stimulus check for people who make under $75,000 a year. The Republicans want a second stimulus check. They said it just days ago, but especially came out of Mitch McConnell's voice. He said there will be a second stimulus check, but he wants it to be paid to people who make a little bit less than $75,000 per year. And the third group that said that they will support a second stimulus check and approve it is the White House. Remember, the White House has to sign the final bill. So it's important that the White House is on track with this as well. So great news. We know that a second stimulus check is coming, and we know when it's coming. So what is left that we don't know? What we don't know exactly still is the amount, and we don't know the manner in which it's sent, electronic or paper check. And we don't know if there's this issue about household amounts or dependents. Let me get right to that right now, because this is really important, and I haven't really gone over it. You know, yesterday I talked about that $10,000 second stimulus check amount per month. Remember, that's not per person. That's per household. $10,000 per household. It may sound like a lot, but it is not a lot because it's up to $10,000. Let me show you how it calculates. It's based upon husband, wife, and 3 dependents. So it's based upon 5 people. 5 people times $2,000, $10,000. No one thinks $2,000 per person is a lot of money. So there's one package that calls for $10,000 per household where 5 people get $2,000. Repeat, 5 people get $2,000, $10,000. That one proposal calls for it one time. There are other proposals that call for that same package each month. No one thinks that $2,000 per month per person is a lot of money either. That is barely enough money for a lot of people to even survive on. So when I said $10,000, I'm not meaning $10,000 per person. I'm talking about $10,000 per household or $2,000 per person, even if you're on SSDI, SSI, Social Security, Railroad benefits. The third proposal is $1,200 per person, which would come up to $6,000 per household. That is 4 people under that package. So, you know, it's all quite different. If I did my math quickly, I may have just said it wrong. Ultimately, the number of people per household is very important, and it was almost as important as the amount of the check. We can sit back and say, hey, there's a $2,000 check, there's a $1,200 check, there's 6 $2,000 checks. But the issue is, are some people not going to get a check? So let me get right to that as well. We're talking about the number of dependents in a household. Under the first stimulus check, dependents who were adults did not get a first stimulus check. Really horrible. It was not very good at all. It was a bad rule. So if, let's say, for example, your husband and wife, and the wife's mother lives with them and appears as a dependent on their tax return. The mother did not get a stimulus check under the first stimulus package. Just a horrible. It's not good rule. Well, the great news is that everyone wants to get rid of that. Republicans, Democrats, the White House all say, no, we want adult dependents. We want our grandparents. We want elderly people. We want dependents, whether they are 16 or older, that are dependents, to get a second stimulus check. So the great news, if you're watching this video, is that if you are a dependent on someone else's tax return and did not get a first stimulus check, you will get a second stimulus check because all three groups have said so. Now, how much would the dependent get? This is also really great news. Between the Republicans, the Democrats, and the White House, they have all so far stated and agreed that the dependent's second stimulus check should be as much as the other individual's second stimulus check. What do I mean? Let me give you an example. Under the one of the proposals for the second stimulus check says $2,000 for a husband, $2,000 for the wife. And then what do we say about the dependents? It says, well, if the grandmother's a dependent on the return, she gets $2,000. We're not going to gyp the dependents and give them a smaller check. We're not going to screw them over and give them a smaller check. We're going to give them a check just like the other people in the household. This is great news. This was not the situation in the first stimulus package. It absolutely was not. If you recall, under the first stimulus package, if you were a child, let's say 13 years old, your parents got stimulus checks, but the child didn't get a full stimulus check. They got a diluted, a smaller stimulus check, a tiny stimulus check. Oh, not so under the second stimulus check. The Republicans, the Democrats, and the White House all want the dependents to get the same second stimulus check as the other people in the household. What some viewers have asked me are, well, what if I'm married? What if, how does that impact it? Don't worry about it. That's what's great news with the second stimulus package. It's the same amount, just double. So if we're talking about $2,000 for husband and wife, for single individual, then it's $4,000 for husband and wife. Now let me get to something that's very, very important that is getting flushed out today about the second stimulus check, and that is these thresholds. Boy, I had a lot of questions and comments about that overnight. The $40,000 threshold, the $75,000 threshold, the $125,000 threshold. Viewers have asked me what's going on, so let me clarify it slowly and clearly. The first stimulus check said it was not authorized to give a first stimulus check to people who made over a certain amount of money. The first stimulus check said that if an individual made $75,000 or more in 2019, they would not get a first stimulus check. That was then. Well, the second stimulus check program proposes to increase or decrease the amount based upon who you're talking to. So what am I referring to? In the second stimulus package, Democrats want to ensure that a lot of people get the second stimulus check based upon 2019 earnings. So they want to keep the number higher. Some say 75,000, some say 125,000, some say a little bit lower. The Republicans, and this is where a lot of the questions have come from in the last day, and I'm here to help you. Boy, they're great questions. Thank you. A lot of people said, how does this $40,000 threshold work? Well, Mitch McConnell, in passing, just literally in passing, said he wants a second stimulus check for people who made $40,000 or less last year. He didn't put it on a napkin. He didn't write it in a bill. He didn't explain what he meant. He didn't say anything more than that. And so people have asked me, what is he talking about? Well, I'm here to guess what Mitch McConnell's talking about. Ultimately, what he's implying is if you're an individual and you made $40,000 or less last year, he will give you a second stimulus check currently before he goes on his vacation. And if you're a couple, then it'll be $80,000 because it's two people. That is where his talking point is. It is not a confirmed bill. It has not been reduced, but at least we know where that side of the aisle is thinking at the moment. The third version is the White House. The White House has been asked point blank, do you want the threshold to be around $90,000, $125,000? Do you want it less? They said, we don't want as many people getting the first stimulus check as those that got the second stimulus check as those who got the first stimulus check. So they want the threshold lower. But when asked, do they want the threshold of about $40,000, they wouldn't answer the question. So the good news is we have some clarity, but we don't have a lot of clarity. We know where people are moving at the moment. All right, so that is that. A lot of viewers have asked me, well, is this gross revenue for 2019? Is it, how are we calculating the $40,000? We really don't know. As we get closer to late July, I will update that for you. There are other things that are really quite great in the second stimulus package that are clear today is that immigrants with taxpayer ID numbers, TINs, would be eligible for payment, and college students, either whether or not your college is closed because of the pandemic or, you're in college before the pandemic went, they were excluded under the first stimulus package. We detailed that extensively. It was very sad. I didn't like it. So if you were, a sophomore in college, you didn't get a first stimulus check. Well, that's gone in the second stimulus package. You will get a second stimulus check. Great news. All right, so let me turn to the breaking details today. And this is literally minutes ago before this session started recording. California, which as you know is one of the largest states in the country, announced major lockdowns, which ostensibly bring California back to where it was back in March for much of its entire state. The announcement today was that 30 counties in California are back on lockdowns that mirror almost the lockdowns from March. Those counties include, of course, Los Angeles. The lockdowns have shut down effective immediately, shut down fitness centers, places of worship, offices for non-critical sectors. So basically any offices are now shut down. Personal care services and hair salons and barbershops and malls all shut down right away. What this means for second stimulus package is that a second stimulus check is needed, and you may actually see a need for a third or fourth stimulus check. As you recall, the CARES Act, when it passed in May, originally had a draft in which there would be a stimulus check for every month that the country was on lockdown. There was supposed to be a check for March, a check for April, and a check for May. Ultimately, members of Congress, screwed you or didn't do what they promised to do for you. When they went to finalize the bill, they said, oh, you know what, we'll just reduce it to one check and we'll get back to it later on. Really, it makes me so angry. I apologize for cursing there, but it makes me angry because they really teased the American public in a bad way. They didn't fulfill their obligations to the American public. They put Americans on lockdown for many months, but they only gave you a check for 1 month. Well, now, as California sort of leads the way from starting to go back on a lockdown, and other states are expected to do the same within the next 2 weeks, by the time members of Congress come back into session, they are not going to be received well by the American public. If the American public is being told they are back on lockdown for July and August and maybe September, and members of Congress are giving you a second stimulus check for what happened in May, it's really behind. It is really too late and too little. So while a lockdown is not good news for anyone, it does signal the urgency and the importance of a second stimulus check and potentially the reason and the grounds for a third and fourth stimulus check. As this channel has detailed, stimulus checks, whether you're a Republican or Democrat or a member of the White House, are all based upon three major factors. Because we all know that, because they've all agreed that it's based upon those factors: unemployment, lockdowns, and economic data. Unemployment numbers are not good. And the unemployment numbers as of last week was the 16th consecutive week of unemployment, new unemployment claims over 1 million in a given week, at 2.5 million new unemployment claims. Those are people who can't make ends meet. They need a stimulus check. They need unemployment benefits continued. They need rent moratoriums. That was then. What's happened since then? 65,000 new COVID-19 cases per day since that unemployment number. What that means is that every time you hear 66,000 people per day that got COVID, those 66,000 people are unemployed. When I tell you that 80% of California's population just went on a lockdown in 30 counties for major businesses, everything from malls to offices, all those people are now unemployed. They are now all unemployed. They're going to need stimulus checks for the month of July right away. This channel is here to help you for everything that's stimulus related, whether it's the check itself, whether it's PUA and unemployment assistance and renter's assistance and hazard pay. I'm here to help you with everything. And what I want you to know is that I'm here to also inspire you and keep you motivated and keep you positive and feel good that there is hope. I know that the data, the numbers, the lockdowns are going to start to look a little bit scary. COVID-19 cases are going to increase and unemployment numbers are going to go up. But I'm here to guide you in through the maze of where there is relief for you. Ultimately, a second stimulus package will get approved in late July, August, and in it, it will have a lot of benefits that might help you in addition to a stimulus check. Viewers have asked me, well, do I get unemployment benefits on top of a stimulus check? Yes. Do I get hazard pay on top of a stimulus check? Yes. Do I get rent assistance on top of a stimulus check? Yes. You get these things. So I want you to be informed, educated, and motivated, because I care about you and I care that you get through this well. Ultimately, a lot of your state governors do care about you as well. So please stay with me. Stay informed, stay positive, and as always, stay at LALATE for more.